And now, time for part. You can put your finger right next to mine. It'll be
Oh,
two. Part two.
numero dos. We're recording now.
So,
Do we both have pants
I mean,
on? I
yeah,
have pants
I do
on.
have pants on today. Yes, yes.
Wonderful.
You just released that first part video, which was amazing. It was so informative. I got some responses of just like, it was really good to hear like creators talk about like things that I just didn't really think about, before. And then getting to see like that whole process of you on your Surface Pro, like sketching it out and then like going over it and then like selecting and readjusting things and all that. So
Yeah.
uh, it,
I mean,
it's
that's
cool. And I hope
definitely the stuff, like when I'm on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, which, by the way, Rock and Roar is now on TikTok because of this collaboration. That is the only reason why I'm on TikTok, is because I put 50-second, 60-second quick animations of what we're doing. And I legit got.
this is me putting like the link across the
Oh,
page.
see. And I legit got like 500 likes in like 3 days, which never happens on Instagram. So check it out. It's at Rock and Roar Creative on TikTok. The 5 breeds that I just sort of did on my own. You didn't ask me to do them. I just wanted to take everything that you had taught me about thinking about characters as a shape first. So I took that approach and I popped out these 5 new breeds like super quick, and
Yeah.
And they're on TikTok.
Yeah.
Go follow me.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what we're kind of covering on this next one is Amy had completed those initial designs, which I loved, and it was like a full process of like sketching, redefining, restructuring, simplifying, focusing more on the certain shapes and aspects and things like that. And then there was this kind of prompt that I think I only talked about in passing about this new pack of dogs. And I gave you like the breeds, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of took it upon yourself to be like, all right, let's go. Let's take what I learned and apply it to this new pack of dogs. And it was like such a crazy amount of growth that happened because you're just like, here, check these out. And I was like, whoa, they're like pretty much good to go. like such a different process, and that speaks to like the way that you went through this design collab and learned certain things and like immediately applied it to like this next set of dogs. That you'll see here. And while the film is kind of already all structured and scheduled, I wasn't using them in this specific piece. But right away, when I looked at them, I was like, I can see how they're going to be used in the next one right away. Like, I already know this scene. And
Good.
again, like as a creator, like I kind of build out a scene or I kind of see certain elements. But I didn't see like exactly what these dogs look like that might be in that scene. And now I got to like see these. I'm like, oh, okay, well, she's there, he's there, this dog's doing this. It was really cool to see that. So
Yeah. I still haven't, they don't have names or personalities yet, so I can work on that for the next one. And then maybe in the next one, maybe I can actually do the animating of them, because I will say, with the old pack, the 4 dogs that were in part 1 of our interview, so if you haven't seen that, go watch it. I basically came up with what they looked like, and then you animated them just because you know that process, and it was fairly quick. For another pack part 2, whatever that may be called, like I would love to be able to actually animate. I can jump in and take that part off of your plate.
Amy just showed up to the first day of class, like, done. Whatever homework you're gonna find, I finished it.
That's how I do. These were
yeah.
so fun, so.
It's really cool to see that. It's character design taps into a different part of your mind. It's yes, ultimately you're creating like a visually appealing, character embodiment, but you don't often have to put like the considerations of like their story or like the fact that they can't just be appealing. They have to like have at least a little bit of like this iconographic look, which this next pack of dogs right away do. It's like before I even look at the image, I'm like, oh, there's that one that's shaped like an egg, right? Like,
Yep.
you know, there's that one that's like really like tall and lanky, right? And it's like those are things that you want to quickly be able to like identify as like what you're gonna highlight with a character. And
Mhm.
kind of did that like right away. All right. Are you already recording?
Mhm.
I still don't have pants on, but okay. So Amy asked me a couple of great questions, and the first one I'm going to start with was, can I go into detail about what Another Pack is about? Um, hopefully, you all got to see the short that I've created first, which is called With Me, and that one was done in a very, very short 25 days. And while I look at it and I feel that the overall message and the heart of it was there, there were a lot of things that I felt like had to get cut because of time, had to be really simplified because of time. It was really broken down to like the most essential things that were needed. And while I like it, there was more there that fueled the need to make something to follow up with. And I think that's good about the creative process is like it's really important to know what's within your abilities and your time frame, um, and then get what you can out of it, and anything that's left you can fuel that into the next thing.
Mhm.
And so I knew I wanted to do a follow-up, um, but for me, there's a couple really essential things when you're creating something in storytelling. Um, there are there needed to be a reason for me to create something that was going to be substantial rather than just creating something just because I wanted to create it.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, I would just be selfish and be like, I just wanted to have more frames and look a little bit prettier, so let me
Right.
just make something else. I think one of the things that always fuels the creation process of expanding a universe is you want to do pretty much like four things, and that's to expand the universe in meaningful ways,
Mhm.
continue the story in a compelling way, expand and introduce new themes, and to hopefully leave an impact on this series or this storytelling. And so I spent honestly a couple months just trying to figure out where I wanted to take this next piece. And um, I knew that I wanted to eventually take Rocky into a new neighborhood.
Mm,
And so I just focused exactly on that. Okay, what can be told with, moving into a new neighborhood? So another pack became the idea of that exact thing, adjusting to a new space. And I think a lot of us can relate to that in some way, shape, or form,
for sure.
even if you've never moved, which Amy has. She moved to another country. um,
Yeah.
you have at least gone to a new school. You've had to make new friends and things like that. And I
Right.
felt like that was a good place to focus on. So that's how this first part came to be. I also wanted to dive into a new space, a new theme that was really important to me. And honestly, I'm really excited for the second part, and we haven't even wrapped up the first. But the second part is where I get to tell a lot more of what I hoped to have been able to do on this first one. I wanted to really explore that concept of migration and assimilation.
Mm,
So the idea of when I come into a new space, what do I get to bring in to that space, and what do I have to adopt once I get there? And
right.
that becomes what we get to explore in the second part.
And when you say
Another
second part, that means essentially your third film, correct?
that would be the third film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another thing we didn't really touch on yet is so the team that worked on with me was how many people?
I think the team was about 8 people.
8 people. Okay.
Yeah.
And because when you
I
talk about expanding the universe, expanding the team for another pack, like how many people are currently working on another pack?
It's still super limited. I mean, one of the things that I really enjoy as a creator is making sure people are engaged and they're collaborating on something that they find interesting. I mean, that was what was really easy with you, Amy, is that you knew you wanted to explore something that was maybe a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but something that you knew you would definitely be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that, designing characters was perfectly suited. And obviously, you both delivered on these characters that we get to see in the film, but it was also awesome to see like that growth
Mm-hmm.
as well, um, creatively. So it was just a really great match.
What has been your favorite part of doing this second film? The first film, you did it in 25 days. You didn't get any sleep. This one, you
Mm.
had 6 months. Now that you had a chance to like take your time relatively, what has been your favorite part of the process?
Yeah, so you're right. The first time I had 25 days and I didn't get to sleep. And this time I had the luxury of 6 months of not getting any sleep.
Right.
The biggest thing is just being able to give your work space to live and breathe and to exist, and you get to make decisions along the way that you don't have to just be so committed to. You get to feel out if this shot is actually the right angle to take, or the rhythm is along the lines of what can help guide the story as well. So that's amazing. And that's why it takes a long process, because you get to spend the time and make sure that it matches more of what you see in your head and is an expression. And so this time, working with somebody like you, what's amazing is that just didn't exist in the first go. It's
Mm.
just like get something out, like you know, we need a pack of newspapers. Help somebody, can you draw a pack of newspapers? And whether or not I felt that it kind of matched the aesthetic, or like it matched the emotion or not, it was just like, that's good to go.
It
Like,
didn't matter. Yeah.
it didn't matter. This time it's like, it does kind of matter, right? Like, again, I could just be like, okay, I just need to have a quick generic dogs in this shot. That could have happened and it would have been fine. But when we give some more of this design and investment, we get this attachment you just wouldn't have had there. It's a lot of like subtext in itself as a design. When you see these dogs, you're gonna know like, hey, those are designs. They're not,
Mhm.
somebody just plopped those in, right? And it's really cool because you did that, right? And so
Mhm.
they have more of a life. So it's so great to be able to include people able to collaborate and lend their aesthetic too. And you even gave them names, right? They didn't even have names in my head, so
Right.
now we have a little bit of like this story and history that
Yeah.
you probably have in mind. You're just like, here's how Maggie met them, or or here's how she has this very upright type of posture, right?
Yeah.
Like you've thought about these things that like I would not.
And I would say the thing about aesthetic is I feel like I felt the pressure to like make the dogs match your aesthetic. Maybe pressure is not the right word, but like the challenge of the way that I would illustrate a dog on my own is maybe not
Yeah.
the same. Like, I look at Rocky and he needs companions that would aesthetically fit right next to him. So that's where the like simplifying comes into play and making sure the eyes are illustrated the same and all that stuff. But I think I have all these plans for children's books down the road to illustrate things I want to tell Olivia, my daughter, and all these other things I want her to like. I want her to see herself in a book and her dog in a book, because like Sarat, my miniature pinscher, is a character in the children's book I'm writing. So like this is going to help inform how I illustrate him. And just, yeah, I feel like the whole process of cartooning things, again, we talked about earlier in the video that it is not easy, at least for me, because I head towards realism usually. But I'm giving myself this self-inflicted challenge of trying to write and illustrate 6 different children books by the time my daughter can read them. So this process has just helped me with just character development in general, which I think is going to help, all kinds of things I do in the future. So I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It's so much fun.
Oh, Amy. You know what? I actually I think that's a great approach to it. A great approach to that thought, because when you're creating in this way, it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's not a lot of like this outwardly fun. Like
Right.
We're not artists, and we're not like, yay, look at all this stuff that's happening. Like the fun is like all internal, so it's just like it really is just like it's like, and that's what my fun looks like. Right?
Yeah, that's what my fun looks like.
Like,
I think it's fun for me when because digital painting, digital drawing is semi new for me. Like I've been doing it for a couple years, but like we're both working on our Microsoft Surface Pros and recording, or at least I'm recording as I'm drawing. So I think the fun for the real fun for me is when I turn it in, or like when I convert it into a video, I speed it up 800%, and then I watch it being drawn, sort of removed that I actually did that. But I'm just seeing it appear, and then all the little erasing and shifting things around. That's I think where my outward fun comes out, when I'm watching the playback.
Same. When I watch playback after I've worked on a scene for 8 hours, and you get your 4 seconds of animation, it's this is amazing. I love it. Oh, look at that. He nodded. Did anybody else see that? He nodded. 100%. I'm also I was also chuckling just a second earlier, because I'm oh, is that how we get our sponsors? Just be you and me are drawing on our Microsoft Surface Pro. The Microsoft Surface Pro, an easy to work with portable device for animation.
Maybe we should do some product placement, here's our pens.
Yeah, for sure. just throw it into the conversation. So how's the work coming for you, Amy? I mean, I'm over here drawing the characters with my Microsoft Pro pencil. Yeah.
So great.
Rotate this.
My nib is broken. It bends too much when I draw because I draw like it's a pencil. I'm like, ah.
Man, we can't put that into into
I can't.
the video. Christoph will not like
Sorry, Bill Gates.
that.
Ooh,
But yeah,
I'm like crying.
I know.
Outward fun. We're having outward fun now.
This is outward fun. This is outward.
Yeah.
You know.
And I even, the character design stuff is bleeding into a bunch of other stuff I'm working on. All the conversations that we've had about character design has bled into like client work as well. It really delightful parallel. A couple weeks after we had started with the old pack, the 4 dogs, another one of my clients, we need to have much more of a visual presence now because we're online, and I have an illustrator on my staff. So could you start illustrating kids? So I really felt like all the discussions that we had about illustrating dogs, oddly enough, really informed how I started this project with this client and illustrating the kids. Here's my kids. I thought about them as not shapes per se, but I definitely the shape of the head, because the shape of all their heads are pretty consistent. So, and that's where I started, right? I just started with their faces and just simplifying things again, because again, that's something I struggle with, but simplification, and there's many ways to do that, right? But I think that conversation really helped me with drawing these kids, because I feel like normal Amy would want to put every single angle and every single like convex
little tuck in the chin, little like indentation of the cheekbones, and
yeah, it's just gonna help. It's helped me with my paid job. It's gonna help me with my children's books when I start illustrating them. So yeah, this whole collaboration has been invaluable, I think, for many parts of my artistic life.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing, is like it goes back to like I think something that we talked about in the last one, where it's just like if you're not creating some type of challenge for yourself to grow, like you as an artist can easily just become like stagnant in terms of like how you're able to create. So, I'm stoked that this like really fueled like a different approach and direction with how you're creating. It was very much the same with me, like I'm starting to get used to, I think one of the great things about this process was that on the first go, making that short with me, it was just like, well, this is my project, my problem, my project. I got to just tackle it all myself. Mm-hmm. And I found that near the end of it, like I was just like, "Can you create a stack of drawn newspapers? Like I'm just running out of time." So that's how that went. But this time it's been very different. I've been able to say like, get to direct, like actually direct on this project, which has been amazing to say like, okay, I know these assets are going to be here. They'll appear in these scenes. Can you take care of this? I've got a good friend. His name is Medardo. He's been like mainly focused with the assets for the shots that have a vehicle, right? And so it's been good to be like, okay, I'm in charge of it. I'll have to check it. I'll have to make adjustments. But overall, the work's being handled there. Very much like this collab has been like, okay, like Amy's got this. They're her babies. It's up to me to like do the last minute touch ups and get them dressed to go on stage, right? Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it. So it's been really rewarding, and that's why it's like create challenges, come into a piece with the idea that you want to learn and grow. That's what more can you take from it? Like that's a great way to advance as a creative mind.
And of course, getting the opportunity to work with someone that you've known for 20 years. And we haven't really collaborated on, when you were creating with me, I didn't get a phone call to help you with that one. Granted, you only had 28 days. And I was the one that reached out to you this time around. But yeah, for the 20 years we've known each other, maybe we collaborated on stuff like in the studio when we were in art school, or
Yeah.
asked each other's opinions on stuff. But yeah, I don't think that we've done this in the 20 years we've known each other because it wasn't possible, and not like the pandemic made it possible, but 20 years ago there wasn't video conferencing platforms, I don't think. Like there, yeah, like we just couldn't have, now that we live in different countries, so it was impossible to collaborate. Well, even if there was video conferencing tools back then, we weren't really living in a digital space, right? Like we created art. We didn't create art on a computer for most of our time together. So it's,
Yeah.
so the fact that we are now, you are creating art that is essentially digital, and I'm just riding your coattails. I mean, I have not been doing it for very long, so it's a joy to be able to, one, collaborate with someone we've known for so long, and then the technology that we're living in just allows us to do stuff.
I love that you brought up art school again because I mean, like we pick up all these skills. We took all these different courses, and it's like realistically, if you're not going into school to say like be a sculptor or to say be a painter specifically, it's like how am I going to use these skills in what I'm actually going to do? And it's like you find ways to incorporate like the design principles or like the process. You pick up little things and you apply them to whatever new medium that you're in. So I was really thankful for that. And actually on that note, much love, much props out to one of my favorite professors from ECU, Michael Elbeck. When the video dropped, he sent me a message. I think the first one at like 5 in the morning. Was like, "Oh, I'm so glad I got to watch this while having my morning coffee."
Of
So
course he's
that
up
was really
at
awesome.
5 a.m.
Of course, yes.
So yeah, Elbeck
So
was
shout outs to you.
printmaking, correct? And we both did.
Yes.
You did a lot more
Yeah.
printmaking than I did. I think I took about 3 printmaking classes. Because
Oh,
again,
wow.
we were not really working in a digital space. So when we discovered printmaking, us being painting and drawing majors, we discovered printmaking and we're like, oh my god, we can make like 50 paintings all at once.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we can create something in Photoshop and print millions of them. But yeah, I think at the time, knowing that Elbeck was there, and I think Janie is down there now. Janie's down there teaching printmaking, and yeah, printmaking in and of itself was just such a like gold mine. I remember thinking that I can't believe I just discovered etching. Like, how did I not know etching was a thing?
Yeah, it's amazing. To people who have never tried it, definitely look into printmaking. For me, like what I loved about it, I'm trying to find ways to like tie it back into like some of what I did with the animation. But one of the things that I loved personally was like with painting and drawing. You know, it's great to build up those skills, obviously, because we had that like that foundation of like creating images in that way that lends to like illustrating and designing and creating something visually. I loved printmaking because of like the process that like got tied with it, right?
Mhm.
You can create like an amazing image on a plate or a stone or like a woodcut or something like that. But if you don't have like the technique and like the consistency of like when
Mhm.
you're actually printing, rolling up your plate with the ink and wiping it down properly,
Yeah.
you could have a great starting piece and like the print could look like really crappy because you didn't learn those techniques and properly like keep that consistency and repetition. And that's one of the things that I noticed like with animation is like I really got to practice that over and over again because
Yeah.
here's how it relates. When I first come up with the idea, I start with like creating an animatic, which are like these still images of like what I kind of see in each shot. And from there, you like kind of make your rough drawings. And then you have to make like all the in betweens of every single frame. And I know I showed you one of those files, and you're like, there's like so many layers here. Like,
Right.
what am I supposed to do? I think that kind of like carries over from printmaking because it's just like you create this one image and you have to like each time ink it up, wipe it down properly, put it through
Mhm.
the press with all the right pressure, and then pull it off and put it in the drying rack. And here it's just like I draw these images and like all the in between frames, like you have to keep on consistently drawing that.
Mhm.
Otherwise your characters like move in like really weird ways. So I was thinking about that just recently, like this is almost like a little bit of a like a process, a meditative
Mhm.
type of approach to making art. And I'm to this day like spending a full day to draw like almost the same image over and over
Right.
again. But it's been a joy, and I still have another 2 months of work left, so you guys won't be able to see anything until a little ways after that. But
Mhm.
it's been great. Any project you tackle on, it's really easy. I mean, I'm in my 30s, and it's really easy to just be like, I know how to do this, 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 this. I know it's possible for me to tackle all this myself, so it's good. Um, and it's like, yeah, you're also gonna like really burn out because you're just doing everything, every
Yeah.
single step of the way. And many, many, many props and much respect to those who do that. But also, like it's really good to disperse that, to spread it out. I've said before, it's like, yeah, I could have designed them myself. It would have been fine. It would have been good. Like it's not like it's impossible for me to have done it, but when you think more outside of yourself, somebody else can really bring more things to it that you just would have never. There's just no way I would have devoted the time. I might not have even approached it with the love and care that you did. Um, so it's great, and I really appreciate that. I hope any one of your viewers that watch your videos recognize like, hey, I can reach out to other people to kind of give me some insight or to help me with this in some way.
And I think we get so caught up on this is something that is part of my curriculum with my entrepreneur academy thing is seeing collaborations instead of competition, because I do think not so much art school. I mean, from personal experience, I felt a lot of competition in art school just to like be better than like the person sitting next to me and like get that like awesome critique.
Healthy competition.
Healthy competition. But then I think it's specifically once you get into the real world and like this person's getting a commission, this person's getting commissions, this person's getting a full time job, doing the things that like you want to do, it becomes so much like, oh, they got that opportunity and I didn't. What the fuck? But what I'm but what I really am trying to teach people that are entering the art world is like there's not a finite amount of people who want to consume art. Like everybody consumes art. Consuming it and paying for it is two different things, but if you start to look at your competitors as collaborators, and maybe they're open to collaborating with you. I'm not getting paid for any of the collaborations that I'm doing this year because I'm the one that initiated it. I wanted to devote time every day, every week to doing something that pushes my skills, pushes my boundaries, all that stuff. So I am lucky enough at this stage to have other jobs that are sustaining me while I'm doing all these collaborations. It's really hard for artists to look at other artists as equals, not competition. But what I want to stress is like there's multiple opportunities. Just because this person got a commission and you didn't doesn't mean you're worse. There's just so much stuff wrapped around getting paid for art that I don't want people to feel like if they're not getting paid to make art that they're not good artists. You
I
just
agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I will say this over and over throughout these talks and this process, that you have to come into something with the right intentions. When we talked about this whole process, the intention was I'm coming into this to grow in this way. And I'm coming into this not as a task that I'm just going to be like, hey, do this, but as channeling my creative energy in a different way of like, let me work, with this other mind. And that's what I think is the main thing. It's one thing to come into a project and be like, here's what I expect to get out of it. here's what I'm like investing, planting a seed for the future, versus like, oh, I'm just gonna do this for free because I need to, or
Hmm.
I'm just gonna utilize this person just for this one thing that I just don't want to do, right? It's all about intention, you know, and I think that that's one of the things that I really loved about like the work you did is like the intention is obviously there. You know, I look at this piece and I think, you know, as it's like growing and coming close to its, you know, finishing state, I'm just like $10,000 production that I've had like $10 for. Like that's pretty
Hmm.
much what it is. So it's all about the intention. And like, you know, for me, I look at it as like, all right, that just means whenever Amy's like, hey, I need a quick like collab assist, I'll be like, when and where, I'm there, right?
Yeah.
And that's to me that's invaluable. Like I would rather, you know, kind of have that type of investment than like here's $20 for XYZ, right? So
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
really is invaluable.
I do feel like on an artist to artist level, I think yeah, if you have the relationships with fellow artists that like the second you need something, they'll do it. In that sort of bartering for help, um, which is exactly it's invaluable. But yeah, I hope that artists coming up right now and maybe are watching this video foster those relationships, make sure you have all these people who are willing to barter for you when you need something. And I know that still means you have to hustle to get paid stuff, but always allow time, because time is the only currency that like everybody has, right? So allow yourself time to do the things you want to do on top of the things you need to do, but just like carve out some time for your own stuff. As an artist, that's part of your mental health, that's part of your like fulfillment. I feel like as artists, to sleep at night comfortably, we have to create something. Like it doesn't have to be a masterpiece every day, but we have to be like working. We have to be working on something. So just give yourself stuff to work on.
Thank you for coming to Amy and George's TED Talk.
Yeah. Another pack is going to be released in April or a little bit after.
I'm hoping to wrap everything. I'm just gonna keep it very loose. I'm
Okay.
hoping to wrap by the summer,
Okay.
and uh, you know, this is going to be a lot of people's first peek at some of the footage, and it could possibly be for a while. It is going to go into entering the festival circuit.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a little bit more limited, so we might not be able to post on YouTube for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool to be able to share this with some
Little
folks through your channels.
little bits of it, right?
Um, yeah,
Um,
little bits of it. Yeah.
I guess yeah. I guess I thought that you were wanting to enter it into a specific festival, and that's why you had like an April due date a while back. But you're just giving yourself more time to
Yeah,
feel it out.
yeah, it's always so tough, you know. I mean, you know, it's really easy to give ourselves like some constraints, but I was just like realizing, like, you know what, multi-billion-dollar studios will delay us a project. So if they can do it, I can do
I'm gonna
that.
fucking do it. Yeah, I got it. What do you hope people feel or get from or learn from another pack?
I I hope that it's a story that you know can just get people to think about process. You know, I think a lot of the times it's really easy for us to just have to do something because we have to do it, right? You don't often get to have times of reflecting or being in that moment, and I think with this piece you get that, and I hope it's relatable,
Mhm.
and you know, again, I wanted to expand the universe. I think, you know, you get a little bit of the character of Rocky the dog in the first one, and here you really get a lot more of that
Right.
in a short 6 minutes, you know. And so this was a good bridge into the second part. You know, it's still really early on. in the process, but I'm really excited for that already because we really get to jump in and see the character. But it required, planting some of these seeds and giving that character some space to grow.
Okay. Well, awesome. Is there anything else you want to, like we said, another pack is slated for summer 2021. It's going to go in film festivals. So I mean, if you let me know what festivals it gets into, I can share that information, and post about it as well. But thank you for letting me interview you multiple times to talk about your process and my process and how we've worked together. And it's been really fun and challenging. And I will say I haven't done a lot of actual animation. My part in this film was basically coming up with the imagery for these dogs, and then I handed it off to you to do the actual animation. So I feel like in the second part of another pack, I will have a little bit more time, because I won't be doing 12 collaborations in a year. 2022 is definitely going to be about me making my stuff, using everything I learned from these 12 other brilliant people. But hopefully in the in the part 2 of another pack, I can actually do some of the animation and take that off your plate, because that is the most time consuming.
Yes, it is. It's I tell people all the time, I'm like, animation is such a thankless job. It's like, I worked all day today, and it's like, let me see what you did, and you hit play, and it's like 5 seconds, and you're always gonna get where's the rest? It's
that's it reminds me of that. Did you watch Parks and Rec?
I love it. Ben's claymation.
Yes. And he's everybody thinks he's going crazy.
Yeah, he has a breakdown. I'm like, oh yeah, that's just Tuesday for me.
Oh yeah, that's just how animators and everybody who works at that such slow a pace to get the end product. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. I can't overstate the fact that, again, I'm thankful that you're able to bring something to the work. It sounds so simple, but it can get as involved as any creator wants to make it be. And one thing that's really great about collaborations, and I'm sure you can attest to that, you're doing it 12 times this year, is that there is an energy that gets fed to you by collaborating. It's like, if I can, say, oh, Amy's working on finalizing this design, that's one thing that I can mentally put aside for a moment and get, encouraged and invigorated to go ahead and work on this next thing that I can lend towards the piece. So that's been good for sure. Oh, got that lunch, finished it up.
Yeah, no, I gobbled it up while my computer was restarting.
I need to restart my computer. Side notes, I'm just doing this so that I can eat my sandwich. I don't know if there's anything I can do to wrap up better than that. If that's what comes out of a collab, more of those need to be happening.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for making another animation. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. I enjoyed working on it and working with you. Collaboration is also a great way, and that's why I'm doing it this year. It's a great way to reconnect with people that you just want to reconnect with, and you were one of my folks.
I'm really, really thankful and lucky to have other people that can match that energy, like you, Amy. And I definitely look forward to working in this way again.
Okay. Yeah, you call me when you start the second part of this.
You'll be on day one. Yeah. I'm gonna let this street sweeping truck pass by. It's really loud. I don't know if you guys hear it.
That's okay. I hear a guy selling papayas outside my window. So they just ride in their car just papayas, manzanas.
Design a character that is based off of papaya.
There you go. Papayas do have a fun shape. It's like an egg, but then there's 2 little balls on the end of each.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun shape. You're right.
This is some behind the scenes like inspiration for like how the design process goes.
Papaya. Before we started recording, we were talking about our organizational tools. This is our organizational tools. You want to show your organizational tools?
Yeah, mine are very much the same. If you want to know what apps I use, they're called like paper,
Post-it.
random note card, ballpoint pen. Great app, ballpoint pen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how I'm organized.
I have a cup full of markers, so
Yeah,
that
you got that great.
I do color code the things I need to do. By the way.
Oh man.
And I guess this is a little heavier than Post-its, but I have my weekly. These are all the chunks of time. So we are in this chunk of time, which is collaboration work.
Hey, that's me.
2 p.m. George. So yeah, you don't need fancy software. You just need a couple colors and markers, maybe different colored Post-its.
Mine's just like yours. It's definitely not as nice. Like here's mine. Here's my schedule, right? It's just like...
There you go.
Oh my god, disaster.